Namo Phat, good morning. Thanks for joining me for our daily practice check-in. Listen, listen, listen. This beautiful sound calls us back to our true home. The fifth mindfulness training. Aware of the suffering caused by unmindful consumption, I vow to cultivate good health, both physical and mental, for myself, my family, and my society, by practicing mindful eating, drinking, and consuming. I will ingest only items that preserve peace, well-being, and joy in my body, in my consciousness, and in the collective body and consciousness of my family and society. I'm determined not to use alcohol or any other items that contain toxins, such as certain TV programs, magazines, books, films, and conversations. I'm aware that to damage my body or my consciousness with these poisons is to betray my ancestors, my parents, my society, and future generations. I will work to transform violence, fear, anger, and confusion in myself and in society by practicing a diet for myself and for society. I understand that a proper diet is crucial for self-transformation and the transformation of society. For our Dharma lessons, we're continuing reading a section on Making Darkness Visible by Ajahn Amaro from his book, Catastrophe, Apostrophe. When exploring attachment to conventions, one easy example to use is that of money. In the UK, the unit of currency is still pounds, but take an old blue £5 note to a shop today, and they won't accept it. Similarly, if you try to spend francs in France, lira in Italy, or Deutschmarks in Germany, they won't buy you anything, since the currency is now euros. That which was agreed to have value now has no value. When I was a young child, my grandfather gave me a 1,000,000,000 banknote from the Weimar era in Germany, 1 Milliarde. I was impressed that it had only been worth pennies at the time. When we reflect on this, what does it say about how we give things value? And how that value seems so real, yet a finger snap later the value is gone. It was just what our minds and human agreements had added to it. This is bearing in mind that just is a big word. It takes a lot of mindfulness and wisdom to notice this kind of habitual conditioning. One way to investigate this is to ask yourself, why is this important? What makes this so good, so bad? Or even more simply, whenever the mind makes a judgment, is that so? Our attachments to sensual pleasures, conventions, or our views and opinions tend to be more visible. However, our views about ourselves, our self-judgment, tends to be invisible. Before I learned this practice from Ajahn Sumedho back in the mid-1980s, I frequently used to think that I would be fine if only I could be someone else. I would regularly think in this self-critical way. The practice of bringing these critical voices to the center of attention was very helpful, made a big difference. If I had thought that I would catch it and replay it, if I had that thought, I would catch it and replay it. If only I was someone else, I would be fine. It's a joke. How could that be taken seriously? It would then fall apart on its own. I hardly recommend this practice, this kind of reflection, to investigate the way the mind creates the world. We mindfully catch the thought and then consciously replay it internally. It is quite wonderful to see that thought's value, its meaning, falls away. We don't have to say to ourselves, I shouldn't be thinking that foolish thought. The thought falls apart on its own in the light of wisdom. Notice the effect when those beliefs and that type of grasping falls away. What's the result? What happens to the heart when the grasping stops? For myself, there's always the feeling of relief, the quality of freedom. May all beings be well. May all beings be happy. May all beings be at peace. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thanks so much for joining me today.